We're starting with the Irish Independent.
Yes, Liverpool, spectacular win, no doubt dominates the Backpages. No real surprise there. 3 and easy for Reds, which pretty much summed it up. Easy was probably the word that permeates a lot of the coverage, in the fact that they made it look ridiculously effortless. They dismantled one of... Roy Keane doesn't think they're a great team, but they're the greatest team in English football this year. They made it look so effortlessly easy in the way that they beat them off the park for most of the game. So that's the main story in the Irish Independent. Also a line on Rory McIlroy. I know it's time to deliver in Masters, and full house signs being prepared 5 weeks before Mayo Galway showdown, and that's in relation to the Connacht Football Championship.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be obviously no Intercounty GAA for the next month after this Sunday. I wonder, is there going to be a story next week saying everything's sold out 4 weeks away from the Connacht clash on May 13, then 3 weeks out? Tickets are still sold out.
Still sold out.
I do wonder what the GAA media is going to actually reach for to actually create some sort of storylines. I think I made the point on a Monday show or Tuesday show that there could actually be a number of negative storylines that emerge, but clearly there's a positive one, I guess, after coming out now.
Sold out signs are always good, especially for local coffers.
Absolutely. Once we get through all the back pages, we are going to talk Diarmuid Connolly because there's a certain journalist who's penned an incendiary piece about Diarmuid Connolly, all to be revealed in just a moment or two, but we'll continue with the back pages. I think the Irish Times also leading with the inevitable this morning. Yeah, and it's pretty much it's Oxlade-Chamberlain, the man that seems to get mostly pictured in this. City left singing the blues as Reds go on first half goal blitz. Again, one of the most I suppose stark reminders of what a bad spell can do is how quickly those goals came in that period. I think it was on 18-19 minutes of decimation for the first two, so it was really, really impressive. Again, a lot of the player ratings are 7, 8s and 9s for Liverpool, which really sums up exactly the scope and the scale of their achievement. I think guys who put together player ratings, it's a very unenviable job because you'll always piss off someone no matter what you give them. But 7, 8s and 9s, I've said there'll be a couple of Liverpool players that are pretty happy with their lot this morning. 100%, no question about it. There's another thing as well, I wonder, is there going to be an element of kind of insecurity about the Premier League now? It's like, look at that team that looked so kind of invincible. And that's the knee-jerk stuff. That's the cult of Guardiola is over. They're not a great team stuff.
There's just a tad of insecurity. Avoid that stuff.
Well, who knows? Maybe we've got ahead. Maybe this Manchester City team is a complete fluke and it was all complete luck throughout the start of the season. Who knows? I genuinely think some of the highest paid and most respected pundits in the country, in the business in the UK and Ireland, they have their punditry made up. They know what they're going to say before it happens. They have some idea. Like, you think back to the Tottenham game against Juventus, and the storyline was either going to be, if Juventus won, oh, they're wily and they're experienced and they just know how to grind out a victory here, and if they didn't win, it'd be they're too old, too many miles on the clock, couldn't do it against a hot young Spurs team with so many players in form, and then if Spurs didn't win, it was going to be a bottle job. So inevitably, despite the fact they lose a very, very tight game, we're told the bottle job kind of analogy. I just think it's real disingenuous to rely on the lazy punditry of, oh, well, City had a bad night, so therefore they're a bad team. Yeah, no, I am being very tongue-in-cheek when I say that, but part of me wants to... Are you on? Part of me wants to see the downfall of an empire, and an empire has been built up in the space of 9 months, and I want to see it fall straight away. Would you describe it as an empire already? I think this Manchester City team is... I don't think people were getting ahead of themselves when they said that this is one of the greatest teams we've ever seen play in English football. In Premier League football. Maybe not in English football. We've got to watch the extremes here. To a certain extent. It's also extreme saying that everything is over and Manchester City were always bad and were always flaky at the back, because clearly that's not the case. But anyway, we will get expert views from Gary Breen on this. You mean this isn't expert views? Well, mine certainly isn't. Maybe yours has a little bit more kind of weight behind it. Simply Red, my favourite and most simple headline of the day, comes in the Irish Examiner sports section. Irresistible Liverpool demolish City with stunning Anfield show, and it is that man, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, again, who dominates, and just kind of the forlorn looks on the faces of the City players really hammer home how difficult a night it was for them. Owen, what did you make of the goals? Well, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain's goal was absolutely sensational. Yeah, it was just perfect. It was, God, like, I wonder if you put Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain in the middle of a desert and told him to strike the ball just like he did, how far would that have travelled? Would it have moved perfectly above ground, like kind of a hovercraft almost? It's just the net ruined the ball. Yeah, it could have gone forever. Yeah, I was obsessed. Actual motion strike. Obsessed with the trajectory of that ball last night, and the bloody net stopped it in truly triumphant fashion. That was obviously the goal of the night. There's no question the other two don't stack up to it. But there was something ballsy about the third goal, where it was like Liverpool didn't really need to go for it, but yet they burst down the wing. Mane got himself in that position, and it was completely fearless. Half-time came actually at a really bad time for Liverpool, despite the fact that they had kind of edged off, I think, mentally at around the 40th minute or so, where they started to look around and think to themselves, right, this thing is real. But even Jurgen Klopp saying before the game that you can forget about a clean sheet when it comes to Manchester City. The fact that they actually went out for the second 45 a little more streetwise and thought to themselves, right, a clean sheet is actually possible here if we keep our wits about us. That was ballsy as well, given what Klopp had said beforehand, because he would look like one hell of a hypocrite had City come back and got a goal or two back even.
And without completely trying to shut up the shop, because I think if you just rely on trying to stop them from scoring for the rest of the game, it can go really, really badly. I think, as well as being a great goal, I really like the redemption storyline and the fact that him coming to Liverpool, there were a couple of raised eyebrows. Why are we signing him? What does he have to offer? What does he have to bring? Has he done it with a big team yet? That, I think, will silence an awful lot of those doubters. I know you probably have your own view of him from his time at your club, but what do you think of the whole redemption of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain?
Well, I'm not sure, is it redemption? He was one of Arsenal.
There was an awful lot of doubters, though.
There was an awful lot of doubters.
But an awful lot of Arsenal fans that thought, good luck, Liverpool.
Yeah.
He didn't do much for us.
I think it was more kind of a fact that he played for Arsenal rather than he was Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, like utilised in wrong positions at times, wanted to play more centrally, was one of Arsenal's best players last season. So I don't think he's kind of overly achieved with that strike last night. It was obviously a wonder goal, and he is probably reaching a little bit if he's going to win a Champions League medal. I think if there's any Arsenal fans out there who aren't just delighted for Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, I think you're a bit stupid, to be honest, because he clearly, every one of us would have made.
Were you sad to see him go, or did you think he needed to go?
He needed to go. I mean, it's such a disastrous place to kind of be developing at the moment, but that's a story for another day. They are playing tonight. We might preview that a little bit later on, Arsenal against CSKA Moscow, but certainly when it comes to football, as you can see with the remainder of your back pages there, it's all Liverpool this morning. Yeah,
and we go against the grain because after a couple of back pages with Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, we've got the main man and City in ruins. City, are they in ruins?
I mean,
the tie is probably dead. Probably, perhaps.
It's one goal away from being dead.
If you watched Liverpool play before, maybe not. But City in ruins, I know that you have to make a captivating back page and splash on the Herald Sport. But bust attack mars brilliant Anfield victory for Reds. Liverpool ripped apart Man City, scoring 3 goals inside the first 31 minutes, sealing their Champions League quarter-final first leg tie 3-0 at Anfield. And they mentioned Conor Masterson. They've weighed in on this Dublin or Selbridge debate, and they call him a Dubliner. The Herald, of course.
Selbridge is in Kildare.
Yeah, I know, but
debate over. Simple as that. He's from Selbridge. He played for Lucan United. Like, Tomás O'Shea is from Kerry. He plays for Nemo Rangers. He's a Kerry man. He plays for a Cork team.
Has a Dublin accent. Probably grew up, spent all of his time in Dublin.
Who cares about accents, realistically? Like, I'm not going to... Selbridge is kind of...
Like, Ronan O'Gara was born in San Diego. He's not a San Diego man.
I know, but it's different. I mean...
Is it, though? I think he's not
from San Diego. Okay, Conor Masterson... I can't believe we're having this debate. He's from Selbridge. He went over the Dublin border to play for Lucan United. And he's come from... the nursery that is Lucan when it comes to his footballing identity. You could call him a Lucan footballer maybe, but a Selbridge person.
A Selbridge person.
The Star as well going with an unfortunate pun this morning.
Smashed. I think it's a great pun.
It's a great pun, yeah.
I suppose double meaning, I suppose. The bus was smashed up and City were smashed up too. It's got a great photo. I'm not sure if you can properly see it, but just we mentioned earlier, Eoin, the noise, the colour, just the striking visual of seeing all that smoke. And I mean, I was watching some of the footage this morning of the longer kind of fan footage that didn't emerge last night of the City bus arriving, and it just looked so intimidating, but at the same time really, really enjoyable to be there. They created such a brilliant atmosphere, and at times you could see people trying to slow down the City bus. You've got guys kind of jumping in front of the bus for selfies, and police kind of pulling guys out of the way.
We can actually have a look at that now. Here is some of the Liverpool fans greeting the Manchester City bus as it pulled up around Liverpool 4 last night.
Great pictures.
It was interesting how Ilkay Gundogan after the game said it actually riled us up a little bit more in a positive way, that we were thinking to ourselves, this gives us a little bit more motivation to beat these guys. It didn't affect us one bit.
But that must throw you off so much, because I'm not so sure they've ever got a welcome like that to Anfield. This would seem very, very alien, because I know professional sports people try to wrap themselves up in routine, and that makes it easy for them. So they try to make it as simple as possible. When you go to Anfield a number of times and it's not like that, and you think, yeah, you breeze in, there's a little bit of traffic, you slowly come down the road, there's fans there obviously making a bit of noise, but that's completely alien and different to anything else you might have experienced on the way to Anfield before. So maybe he can't come out and outright say, yeah, you know, we were shitting it. But it's a strong chance. I mean, I'm watching those pictures and feeling a little bit uneasy. I don't think I'd feel particularly comfortable if I was on that bus. Then you walk at an Anfield, you're greeted by that wall of noise as well. I don't think you can underestimate the impact you had. You can't blame it on losing 3-0, but it definitely would have thrown them off in some way, I would imagine.
Let's hope there's no revenge mission from City fans next Tuesday, and that the Liverpool obviously released a statement apologising on behalf of their fans last night, which is probably a smart move, and hopefully that is the end of it. Let's show you the back page of the Sun this morning. Anfield ambush reads the headline as the Liverpool headlines continue this morning.
Yes, Anfield ambush.
That's the Sun, smashed as well. Pep's dream in tatters as Reds go on rampage. Yob shame as City bus is attacked. We'll show you the Times as well this morning. You'll never guess what they're leading with on the back of the Times. Also Liverpool, spoiler alert, basically. There we go, Anfield ambush. Liverpool destroy City in first half. Apology after fans attack visitors' bus. The Daily Mail then as well, Liverpool getting beaten once again, leading the way once it comes to the Daily Mail. Smashed again. The
third instance of smashed.
And I know, we've kept them all together. That's perfect planning right here. City pulverised on pitch and bus wrecked outside. You've also got the very sad news there of Ray Wilkins, a gentleman, a class act. My great friends. That's Brian Robson's column there in the Daily Mail this morning. The Racing Post is leading with the Masters on the back page. Punters piling into Poulter. Houston Heroics have seen Englishmen lift off in Masters betting, which is an interesting storyline. Of course, they're probably referring to the British market, and maybe there's a little bit of patriotism going on there. And backing our man Ian Poulter.
Definitely a bit of patriotism. Maybe misguided patriotism.
We might put that to John Duggan. He probably won't even entertain the possibility that Ian Poulter could potentially win the Masters, but we'll ask him nonetheless a little bit later on. And then finally, just to wrap up the back pages, it's across to some of the UK titles. And The Guardian goes with demolition job. Salah puts rampant Reds on road to stunning win over City. And the Daily Telegraph then finally is also leading with Liverpool this morning. Here's the front page of their sports section. Is it going to be smashed again? The tension is unbearable.
We've had 3 smashes.
Could it be? No, we're not. We won't get the front page.
Smash and grab was a good headline. Have I seen smash and grab anywhere?
Smash and grab actually hasn't led the way in any.
They smashed the bus and then they grabbed the goals.
They really did. Yeah, it's very, very true.
You can have that for free, papers, although it's very late to give you that now.
Yeah, it really is. But we'll go with it. We can put it up on the Off the Ball. We'll put it. The name of the podcast will be Smash and Grab, and that'll be the section dedicated to Liverpool.
I'm surprised there's not more Master stuff. Obviously, you know, Liverpool are the big story of the day, but there seems to be maybe muted excitement towards the Masters this year. I think with so many interesting storylines, I thought it would have been more prevalent in the sports.
Really?
Maybe psyche on a Thursday. Yeah.
Well, I guess
Tiger's back. That's so huge. Even for the casual golf fan.
Yeah, I think the excitement is huge. I cannot wait for this Masters. It's the most excited I've ever been for a golf competition. But
why this one?
Because Tiger's back.
Is that it? Are you the same?
But also because of the level of Dustin Johnson, the level of Justin Thomas, the level of Jordan Spieth, the level of Rory McIlroy.
John Ram. Everyone loves John Ram.
Everybody loves John Ram, but people aren't even talking about John Ram because the rest of the big hitters are playing so bloody well at the moment, and it's going to be fantastic. Even if we didn't have Tiger, I suspect this might be one of the Masters I would have been most looking forward to anyway because of the Rory element. Granted, it is the first time in like 10 years we've only had one Irish golfer going to Augusta, so it's diminished in that regard.
Yeah, that's not great.
If we had Harrington and Lowry in there, it would just be a festival of golf. But I definitely don't remember.
Beautiful celebration of golf.
That's what it is, you know, a beautiful celebration of kind of retrograde ideals kind of all gathered around a Georgian town, which is kind of a little bit backward. But anyway, we might deal with that a little bit later on as well.
I make an unpopular revelation about my view on the Masters. The prize isn't that great. Like, I just think we all convince ourselves that a jacket is this wonderful, amazing thing. Explain it to me, Eoin. I'm a casual golf fan. I don't really get it.
You're part of the club. It's very prestigious to be part of the Masters Club because it's it's not like Fight Club as in you should never talk about Masters Club, but it is a little bit like Fight Club.
You can never take it out of the club after your year with it.
Yes, and also you can never really ask to be in the club. Like, for example, Bill Gates is a member of Augusta National, and he would never have been in a position, no matter how many billions of dollars he had, he would never have been in a position to actually ask the people at Augusta, can you let me into the club? You know, I've got lots of money, I'll increase prestige. You've got to play it cool.
I'll literally give you $1 billion.
Yeah, you've got to play it cool, and you've got to be invited in. Winning this golf competition is an automatic invite into the club, into the locker, into whatever, Eisenhower's hut or whatever it's called, and you get this level of prestige, which is amazing. And like, I think that level of prestige is better than a claret jug. Just about, and a claret jug is still amazing. Like the Masters is the be all and end all. It's the biggest golf tournament in the world. It is the pinnacle.
I understand the tournament and the history with it, but I just think the actual physical prize of a jacket.
At least you can wear a jacket. You can't, if it's cold outside, you can't wear a trophy.
You don't get to keep the jacket. You got to give it back after the year. I read 500 words today on Garcia, worried the fact that he'd grease stained his jacket.
I would be worried too.
It's a jacket.
I wonder, has anybody ever got dry cleaning on their green jacket?
He tried to get dry cleaning on his jacket, and that made him nervous. He said he waited outside the dry cleaner in his car until it was done to go back in and be like, is my jacket okay?
I would be nervous too. We're going to chat about that, as I say, later on with John Duggan. There's going to be so much Masters content over the next 4 days here on Off the Ball on all our digital channels. But there's one more thing I wanted to chat to you about, Darren, before we let you go this morning, and that is Diarmuid Connolly, because you penned this article for offtheball.com. You can hop on now and read it if you've missed it. Diarmuid Connolly's continued absence, a cause for concern for Dublin supporters. Is it a surprise that the most scrutinised player in the country could grow disillusioned with the game, asks Darren Cleary, which is you, Darren. And yes. When I say it's an incendiary article, I was being sarcastic. It's kind of a measured take, I guess. When it comes to national media, there seems to be, certainly if you judge by Off the Ball's mentions, seems to be an anti-Dublin bias, particularly when it comes to Diarmuid Connolly. So it's good to have some pro-Dublin bias when it comes to Diarmuid Connolly. Sum up the article.
Basically, we don't really know why Diarmuid Connolly isn't playing at the moment. Rest is the word Jim Gavin has used a couple of times. John Small met the media as well before the Alliance League final, and he had the unenviable job of going to bat and said, well, Jim said it's a rest, so it must be a rest. So in the absence of any real information, of course, rumours are flowing, and that's the worst kind of fake news. So I tried to get some form of information. Naturally, anyone I tried to talk to told me nothing, and anyone who would know him at St. Vincent's would just say he hasn't been around for the last couple of weeks. Trying to figure out exactly why the most talented footballer in the country and one of the most talented footballers of his generation has just decided not to play football, I think is really, really interesting. And the word rest doesn't really tally when you consider how little football he's actually played this season. It would be wholly more able for me to accept if he's just maybe needs a break from the game, a break from the scrutiny, a break from being what he has been for the best part of a decade, and that is the most targeted player on the pitch and probably one of the most written about players off the pitch as well.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And I completely buy the idea that maybe we're all reading into this a little bit too much. Maybe he's just a guy who's had unbelievable success and just wants to take a step back for a while. The one thing is, he is in this sort of spot in his career, kind of like Gooch was at the end of his career, where there's just that one thing missing, and it's that Player of the Year awards, that final stamp of approval that Diarmuid Connolly was the best player in any one given season, an immortality of sorts, where people align a great Dublin team with a great individual performance, which is very hard to do with great teams. So maybe there's an element of that. Like when you say he's won it all, if you get really down into the nitty-gritty of it, there is still that one personal accolade left for him to actually pick up, but I'm sure that's not really around. He doesn't strike me as the type of guy who gets motivated by those sort of awards.
But all the players will say that, and they'll all lie to your face about it, because in WhatsApp groups with their mates and with their teammates, they will, on the day the All-Star nominations are announced, they'll all be talking to each other. They of course put massive stake in what it is. Like every player will tell you at the end of their career, they'll tell you how many Leinster medals they won, they'll tell you how many Connacht medals they won, but up there as well, they'll tell you how many All-Stars. I think it's almost like this self-loathing Irish thing that you try and gloss over your individual achievements, where if someone gives you a compliment, you'll try and deflect it. It's like, oh, congratulations, you've won an All-Star. Oh yeah, but sure, 14 other lads won All-Stars as well, and sure, I probably wasn't even the best player on my team. Guys are just too quick to maybe diffuse it. I would think a lot of the Connolly stuff is, I would suggest he gets scrutiny that is reflective of his position in the inter-county game, being one of the most talked about and one of the most talented players in the country, but that's not reflected in the individual accolades. He's done it all. He's won 5 All-Irelands, 10 Leinsters, whatever he's won with Vincent's as well, All Ireland's, clubs, Dublin's, provincial medals. But the barrier, or the kind of the column in his achievements, it's always missing the individual accolades. 2 All-Stars for his career seems criminally wrong. I can't understand how he's had such little individual recognition, given the fact he's widely regarded by even his biggest detractor that he is the best player to play the game in the last 20 years, maybe.
Yeah. Well, you've opened up a can of worms there, which may be a debate for another day. The last 20 years maybe is something I would strongly disagree with.
10 years?
Maybe. Like, let's agree to disagree for the time being, because we need to move on to Liverpool, Manchester City. Diarmuid Connolly, is he the best player of the last 20 years? Feel free to leave your comments below. I'm sure most
he deserves more All-Stars.
I agree with that. 2 All-Stars. If 2 All-Stars is Diarmuid Connolly's lot, then that is a criminally low number for Diarmuid Connolly, because everybody will agree that he is the finest player and one of the finest teams we've ever seen play Gaelic football.